Worlds is coming up, and did you know that they're drafting? So what we're gonna do here today, we're gonna get you through so that you're up to speed on what's going on with drafting if you're gonna be watching Worlds, where I'm gonna be commentating and some of the best players in the world are gonna be playing. So let's get into it. First things first, $1 million prize pool for only 16 players. It's basically the biggest Magic tournament ever played. So let's find out right now what is going on in booster draft for Theros Beyond Death. Now, the first place that I would start, of course, is the metagame. And when it comes to figuring out what to do, you should look to the best limited players around. And even though Sam Black is known primarily for constructed, he's actually a really, really good limited player. So let's take a look and see what Sam thinks about this draft format. And we'll go through each one of them. So Azorius. So you can see a pattern here. He likes the auras and then ways to protect your creatures. Every card here really is either an aura or cares about protecting a creature with an aura on it. Next is Orzhov. This one is about graveyard synergies with auras. And then you can see on the commons here, he's highlighted Heliod's Pilgrim, which goes and gets auras. Mire's Grasp, which is particularly good here because of its synergies with cards like Heliod's Pilgrim, Hateful Eidolon, Archon of the Falling Stars, and Rise to Glory. And then Blight Breath, Catoblepas? Yeah, let's just look.
Catoblepas.
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 Catoblepas. Boros, usually very aggressive. Looks like Sam has highlighted go wide strategies here with Hero of the Nyxborn and Reverent Hoplite, and then cards like Phalanx Tactics to help pump them all up. Celestia is next, and it's kind of weird. On one hand, you have cards like Siona, but also they can go tall, which can make a big, huge battle cruiser or whatever to get the job done. That brings us to Dimir, one of my favorite archetypes. And as you can see, Sam has taken a pretty crazy Mire Triton, Sweet Oblivion, Cling to Dust, kind of a self-mill strategy almost. I think Sam's just highlighting that you can take a self-mill strategy, but that you don't have to. You can also just play the traditional control route. Next, This is a deck that cares about casting cards on your opponent's turn. Omen of the Forge, Omen of the Sea, Final Flare, I'll do that. Simic is next. This is primarily a constellation-based deck, or at least ways to get paid off for having enchantments. Rakdos. Rakdos is kind of weird because it looks like it has a heavy sacrifice theme, but it doesn't happen as often as you think. It ends up playing out in a more attrition-y way, according to Sam, where you're using cards like Underworld Charger and Underworld Ragehound to continually pound your opponents. Next up is Golgari, one of the best archetypes in the format, I think. This is a graveyard escape-based deck that uses cards like Venomous Hierophant and Funeral Rites to fuel the graveyard, and then you can get back the big hitters like Chainweb, Arachnir, but more commonly you'll get things back like Loathsome Chimera. Gruul is next. Gruul plays the typical Gruul role here and really cares a lot about creatures with power 4 or greater. You really just want to have creatures with power 4 or greater. All of these uncommons pay you off for having those. Okay, so that's what Sam Black thinks of it. That's a fantastic overview. Let's drill down a little bit more and see from another pro, Reed Duke, what he thinks of it. He's got the top 5. He likes Green-Black Escape, which again is one of my favorites. I have it in the top 2 or 3. White-Green Auras, we talked about that, and it looks like Reed favors moving towards the Auras direction rather than the Go Wide or the Constellation route or whatever. Red-Green Ferocious, we just talked about that one. Blue-Black Control, Reed does like his control decks in Limited, and as you can see, there are so many great control options here with the black removal, the blue counter spells, and card draw. Let's take a look at what he thinks number 1 is. Wow, Red-Black Escape. And look at this. This is key. He did not say Red-Black Sacrifice. He said Red-Black Escape. So he also likes to do the whole jam my Underworld Chargers and Underworld Ragehounds into your creatures. So that's what Reed thinks of the top archetypes are, but he also went through the top commons. White, he's got Revoke Existence, Removal Spell, Daybreak Chimera, and number 1, Dreadful Apathy, definitely the best white common. Next is Stern Dismissal from blue, Deny the Divine, which isn't a card that you would always see at the top of a list like this, and Thirst for Meaning at number 1, really solid card draw spell that you can play on your opponent's turn and leave up cards like Deny the Divine. For black, Reed has Blight Breath,
Catoblepas.
He's got Final Death at number 2, and of course, Myers Grasp at number 1. Black is the best color. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Erois' Blessing for red, removal spell, Omen of the Forge, and then he loves Underworld Rage Hound. Just keep getting in there with it and leverage those removal spells. Reed really likes Elysian Caryatid. Now, this was early in the format, and for most people, this card has dropped in value because it tends to die to a bunch of commons like Mogus's Favor. Voracious Typhon, we talked about that, enabling all the things and just being a great card. And then Warbriar Blessing as the best common in green, as it is a removal spell. So that's what Reed thinks about the format. And you know, one of the big takeaways here is that black is the best color in this format. And that means that it could be multiple people playing black. Now, I just made a quick list in rough order of how I see them, but look at this. All the way down at the bottom, you've got Scavenging Harpy, which is a totally playable flyer, Temple Thief, which is a 2/2 for 2 with minor upside, Grim Physician, the only real unplayable is Fruit of Tyzerus. That card is just, this is not a thing at all. So this is where things get really interesting. People have been pushing the boundaries on this black-green deck. I'll just let you see. I can't believe what we're seeing here, by the way.
So I think the 55 card deck here is going to make sense. This is not a meme stream. I promise you. I can't promise you this is 100% optimal, but I promise you if this was the Pro Tour, like the regional Pro Tour in Phoenix, I would submit 55 cards right now.
55 cards? All right, we're calling him.
Hey, Marshall.
55 cards, Ben?
It's kind of a weird format. I mean, in general, of course, like you never want to go above 40, but in this format, there's like, you can go through your whole library pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you actually want to try and do that is because it's fuel for escape. Basically, anytime you mill an escape creature and then also have enough cards in your graveyard to bring it back, you just basically drew a creature for free.
Weird, right? How did that happen? You've been telling people for years, hey, you know, don't do 41, don't go ever. And somehow now it's 55 cards sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, of course, if you're not going to be able to go through your whole deck, then you should never go a card above 40.
Do you think we'll see people do this at the professional level?
I mean, we should. I definitely think it's correct. I don't know exactly.
It's crazy. It's just, how did we get to this point? But yeah, you've convinced me. Thanks for your time, B.
Oh, thanks for the call, Marshall.
How would I rate this call? A 5-star Ben Stark call? So there you go. Sometimes you play 55 cards in this format, apparently. There's one other thing that I wanted to cover here. This is more for fun because you don't get to pick which cards you open, obviously, in a booster draft pack, but it's always fun to talk about this stuff, which is what is the best possible card in the set for limited. Let's go over a couple of them here. I'll just let you listen to me and Luis on the podcast. This is our first time being exposed to Dream Trawler. Dalicos. Next is Dream Trawler, 2 white, blue. For a 3/5 Sphinx at rare. It's got, flying and lifelink with 5 toughness. That is brutal. Discard a card to have Dream Trawler gain hexproof until end of turn and tap it. What? That is obscene.
Oh, Dream Trawler is just one of the best cards in the set. And they can't race it because it's got lifelink, so you're hitting them for like 5 lifelink damage.
So you can hear us kind of going, oh my God, this might be just the best card in the set. And once again, we're going back to limited superstar Ben Stark. He said he thinks it's the 3rd best card in the set behind Ashiok and Kiora Best the Sea God. And you know what? Let's see if he still thinks this. Ben.
Yo.
What's the best card in the set?
Ashiok.
And you say this because?
Costs 5 mana and is unbeatable.
Thank you, Ben.
Bye.
All right, that was a 5-star Ben call for sure. If you do end up facing down a Dream Trawler, don't worry. We have the answer from Frank Karsten, who has figured out, by the way, this is a really funny article. He came up with a bunch of achievements to unlock in the format. The one that caught my eye, by the way, this one's hilarious. He wants to punish Heliod. So somebody has to get their Heliod into creature mode, and then you put Heliod's punishment on the Heliod itself. On topic, stay on topic. Where is it? Here it is. If your opponent has a Dream Trawler, and you have a Rise to Glory with Dreadful Apathy in your graveyard, and you bring it back, you can actually put the Dreadful Apathy on the Dream Trawler, even if it has hexproof at the time, because when you attach an aura, it does not target. So thank you, Frank. This is, of course, exactly what we were looking for. Now, just to back up Ben's point about Ashiok being potentially the best card in the set, it's ugly. Like if you have small children around, shield their eyes. We've got Ailey on the right.
Good. Right. Ashiok.
And this right here, this is the face of somebody who just got Ashioked. It gets worse too.
Oh,
So I would like to
I'm
return
gonna
your
concede.
lifelink.
I'm just gonna concede now.
So this is the face of somebody who got Ashioked, and this is the face of somebody who did the Ashioking. So hopefully this gives you a good overview of what's going on for Limited going into World, so that when you watch the broadcast, which you have to do now, you're committed, you'll have a good idea of what's going on with the big picture and even some of the nitty gritty of the format. And by the way, you have to come watch the World Championship. It is the most amazing tournament to watch. This is what it looks like when somebody wins, and I really hope you'll come watch. I'm going to be there doing commentary with a fantastic commentary team. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.